Great. I see this live on YouTube. It does also look like it's live on Facebook, so I will be double checking here. YouTube. Great. I think it will be sharing this out for folks. I just want to give it another minute for it to start showing the little alert button, and then I'll know that everyone is seeing it okay. Okay, awesome. I just got the notification, so we'll go ahead and get this kicked off and going. Good afternoon, morning, or evening, whenever it is you are watching this broadcast. I am your host, Juliet Abdel, President and CEO of the Westminster Chamber, and I want to thank you for being on here with us to learn about candidates that are seeking office. We held a couple of different ways that you can engage with those candidates in person. Covenant Living. So if you were able to attend, thank you for coming to that. If you were not, we actually streamed that as well. So you can go back and find that particular candidate forum. We then also had a few days prior to that one-on-one interviews with candidates seeking county offices, county sheriff, county commissioner, and then our state, so state representatives that were able to join us. And then what we're offering today was another time, or really another opportunity for our Senate candidates to be on here with us. We also included a Senate District 24 right after this. It's not directly in Westminster, but it's close enough that a lot of our residents also live there. And with the redistricting, we just want people to be as educated as possible whenever they're at the polls. So the main way that you can engage with us is in 3 different ways. That's by hitting the share button on the video so others in your network can see that we're live. It's by commenting on the video so that way we can pull any of those comments, whether they're good morning remarks, whether it's in support of something, or maybe, just commentary that might be there. And then the third is any questions that you may have that you type our way. Now, please note that we do have questions that our GA committee and ourselves have kind of been able to round up prior to this, and those would be the questions that we ask the candidate. The candidate has no idea what these questions are. They don't have them in advance. They are on the spot questions, so we can really gain their understanding in a quick overview without really preparing, but just kind of internally what they would respond to if these issues come up to them. So if you have any questions, you can type them in. If we have time, we'll take those up at the end. Of course, please be respectful and mindful when you are typing those questions, so that way we're learning about the candidacy of the individual that's in front of us and not necessarily reading specific verbiage that we wouldn't like to see out there. If you are a first-time viewer onto our broadcast, then I want to ask you to hit the like and follow button here on Facebook so you can get notified in the future when we go live. If you're streaming this on our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button so you can be alerted. All these videos are available to you at your convenience to go back, rewind, rewatch, take notes, and then visit, as we encourage you to at the end of all of these, the campaign pages so you can learn about them more in depth outside of just these questions. Long-winded. I do see a quick comment that came through. It looks like from Brian Head. Brian, thank you for joining us. I also see Ann and Allison. Thank you all for tuning in. Brian's just giving us a good afternoon message. This is how the question or comment will be displayed should you choose to make one of those comments as well. So with that, I do want to turn this over again. This is for Senate District 25, and this is our currently elected senator, Senator Faith Winter, seeking a re-election. So I will turn this over to Faith to give a brief opening statement to folks.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be with you, and thank you for Juliet for all the work she does in promoting businesses, making sure people are engaged and civically informed. I'm excited to be here today. I'm multitasking. I'm a working mom, and I just picked up my kids from school, and one of their favorite things to do is take the light rail downtown. So I'm at a bus station waiting for the light rail to go downtown. which getting the N line accomplished was a big deal. And I love public transit, and my kids do too. So I'm out here doing that. But my name's Faith Winter. I served on Westminster City Council for 7 years and was mayor pro tem. I was a state rep for 4 years, and now I'm a state senator running for re-election in a district that's largely new to me. So I have Mel Broomfield, which I'm excited about. My mom was a teacher and my dad was a nurse, which meant that every day we were taught that we wake up with the ethic of what can you do to make the world a better place? What can you do to help people? And that's what I try to do every single day in the public service that I do as a state senator. When I'm not being a state senator, I work for environmental organizations and organizations that train women to run for office. And I'm excited to be here and answer all the questions.
Well, thank you so much for that quick intro statement, and thank you for fitting us in. I know candidates are always swamped with various things, and adding in family obligations like your kiddos definitely adds to your plate. So we appreciate you joining us and being on here. So we'll just jump right into the questions. Of course, we ask that you try and capture your answers in a quick way. If you do, then that means we can ask more questions. The longer you take on each individual question means that we may not get through all of them. And then it would only be the issues that we touch on that they are able to hear from you on. So just kind of be mindful of the timing. I won't have an alarm. When I did that last time, it was a little aggressive to the candidates when it was beeping through. So I don't want to do that for you this time. But we'll go ahead and start with this first question. Says some in the legislature have increasingly sought to eliminate Tabor over the past several years, only to rebrand and celebrate the Tabor required refunds this year, calling them Colorado Cash Back. What is your position on Tabor?
I believe that having the voters have input on how we use our money is extremely important. And at the same time, Tabor is very limiting. When I go around the country and folks talk to me about how I've managed transportation funding, they don't understand the limitations of Tabor. We're one of the only few states that has such limiting restrictions. So I seek for the input of voters. And I think there's a lot in Tabor that can be fixed to ensure that we're keeping up with education costs. We're keeping up with transportation costs. We're keeping up with healthcare costs, and Tabor's restricting in that area. But ultimately, it's up to the voters on how they want to treat Tabor, and I'll respect them.
Thank you so much for that answer. This next question relates to crime rates. It specifically says that crime rates across Colorado are exploding, as are fentanyl-related deaths. What can be done at a state level to address these issues?
I served on the Behavioral Health Task Force, and we invested $495 million into addressing addiction issues. And that means that we had locally driven, community-driven solutions on addressing addiction. And that's what it's actually going to take to solve the fentanyl crisis, because we know that most of the fentanyl crisis is happening when people think that they're purchasing, ingesting, and using other types of drugs. And so we need to make sure we're addressing the mental health crisis, the addiction crisis, and we invested $495 million in order to do that. Crime rates are increasing, and that's an example of what's happening in our economy. Right now, our economy doesn't work for everyone. We know we have people working paycheck to paycheck. My son's bike was stolen out of my garage, and I understand that crime's increasing, but it's usually crimes of economy. It's crimes where people are working to put food on the table. And so making sure we have a living wage, making sure we have benefits, making sure we have good jobs, making sure that we're addressing the inflation issues, I think we'll see the crime rates go down.
All right, thank you for that answer. I see Parker Brown. Thanks, Parker, for joining us on here. And good afternoon to you as well. Faith, this next question is going to be around homelessness. It says homelessness is an increasing problem here in Colorado, and with the economy struggling, there's potential that it'll grow even worse. What can the state legislature do to address this problem?
Unfortunately, there's no silver bullet solution, but there's a lot of solutions that we continue to work on. First is we have to invest in affordable housing. It is next to impossible for folks to find an affordable place to live working on minimum wage. One of the bills I'm working on this year is oftentimes people can't find a place to live, even if they're stable, drug-free, responsible, good community members, because they're not making 3 times the rent. But we have places that will guarantee they'll make the rent and provide a place to live, but they get told no time and time and time again that they can't live there. So we have to start addressing that issue. We have to increase the affordable housing stock, which I've increased the affordable housing funding that we have. And then we have to look at the root causes of homelessness. And a lot of that goes back to addiction and mental health issues. And what are we doing to actually address those and investing in our local community centers like the Mental Health Crisis Center of Colorado to make sure that we are meeting people where they're at. And so addressing mental health, addressing addiction, increasing our affordable housing supply, and addressing rent increases are all parts of the solution.
Thank you for that. This next question is specific to schools. So it reads, Westminster is served by 3 different school districts and home to many wonderful schools. Additionally, Westminster is home to several of the leading charter schools in the state. What, if anything, should the state legislature do to ensure that our schools are supported and that families have access to learning opportunities that best meet the individual needs of their children?
That's a great question. And last year we took steps that decreased the budget stabilization factor, which is the money that voters dedicated to schools that the legislature hasn't been able to deliver on. So we decreased that at a record rate last year. So we have to increase funding. We have to support teachers. We have to make sure that we are providing supports within our schools for operations as well. Because we know that the folks providing lunches and driving our children in school buses are extremely important. And one of the other things that we worked on was making sure that we increase the number of counselors and mental health support within our schools as well. And so ultimately making sure that we're paying our educators and our support staff well is one of the first steps to making sure we're providing a good education.
Awesome. Thank you for that. This next question is in regard to the business community. How have you worked within the business community?
So I've toured many local businesses, and one of the things that I'm most proud of is throughout the pandemic, I passed 3 different bills that provided over nearly $1 billion of pandemic support for local and small businesses, making sure that we were supporting our local businesses and staying open, keeping them open during the toughest time that we've ever seen business owners have to go through. In addition, I passed a public transportation bill and transportation funding bill, and I worked closely with the contractors, the folks that are going to build new roads, build new bridges, build new transportation systems, and worked with them closely to make sure that we were funding our transportation infrastructure adequately.
Thank you for that. This next question is in regard to regulations. It says a slew of regulations that have passed over the last few years are coming up for compliance. How do you foresee this panning out for the business community?
I work closely with DOLA and CDLE to ensure that compliance is as easy as possible. I'm a small business owner as well, and making sure that you're following the rules and meeting all the requirements is often difficult. And we also know that the rules and compliances are there to protect employees and protect folks. So how do we make it easy, not cost imperative, and make sure that we're supporting our local businesses where any mom and pop can comply?
Okay. And then I think we are going to have time for one more question before we do some closing remarks. I have another question, but it might actually parlay into a closing statement. So I'll see if you want to wrap it into that as well. This is in regard to if you are reelected into office, what are some of your top goals or issues you'd like to be working on?
Absolutely. Some of the top things I'm going to be working on is making healthcare more affordable, making sure we're lowering the cost of prescription drugs, making sure that mental health care is accessible to everyone, and making sure we're addressing the climate emergency. We're late into October. We haven't seen snow. Broomfield and Westminster are some of the communities that are most at risk for suburban wildfire at this point, and we have to address the climate emergency like the emergency it is, and I'll be working on that.
Excellent. Thank you. And so this final question, as I said, you can answer it as a question individually, or you can feel like you can expand it into a closing statement if you would like. This is asking, why you over the candidate that is running against you for this Senate seat. And of course, I always have to preface, and I did this with everyone else that I did before, and that is to reference credentials or reference candidacy items and not other things that don't necessarily matter at the ballot.
Sure, absolutely. And I am sure that my opponent is a fantastic human being and a fantastic mom, and I haven't had to meet her. This is my 6th campaign, and this is the time I haven't met my opponents. Unfortunately, usually I see my opponents out and about at the community events, and I haven't met her. And so what I can do is just tell you about what I and what I can deliver. My cell phone number on every mail piece I have, every lit piece that I have, and I'm accessible. When you call me up, I ask you to come down to the Capitol, visit me, and follow me around, coffee with anyone. And really, ultimately, my favorite part of this job is turning people's hopes and dreams and concerns into policy solutions. And that's what I you is accessibility, ear to listen, a heart to care, and to always be there for you.
Thank you for that, Marie. I have included your campaign page as well, faithwinter.com, into the comment section for folks to be able to pull that. Is there a phone number you'd like them to call? I think there's a 303-866-4863. Is that the best way that people can reach you if they have any questions?
Yeah, that's my office number. And then my cell phone is 303-594-5594.
Awesome. I feel like it's perfect timing on what's going on over there. So here is the phone number to Faith, her cell phone. The office is also included in the chat. I encourage you all, of course, to take the time after this video to reach out to her if you have any questions directly, but learn more about her through her campaign page, things that she's achieved and accomplished and things that she's looking forward to trying and addressing moving forward. I want to thank you all for tuning into the broadcast and remind you to hit the share button on this video so others in your network can see that we were live and can also get information about our candidate for Senate District 25. And Faith, thank you so much for hopping on with me. I hope that the rest of your afternoon runs smoothly and that you and your kiddos enjoy your time at the light rail.
Thank you so much for all the work you do, Julia. Thank you to all your members for all the work you do. And thank you, everyone, for working hard and making our community better.
Appreciate it so much. We will be back on here at 4:30 for Senate District 24, having Courtney on here with us. So make sure that you hop back on and tune into that broadcast here in about 12 minutes or so. Thank you all.